Hello. To be honest with you, doing these speeches over and over again has gotten pretty old, but it's actually made these speeches easier to deliver, so I'm guessing that was the purpose of this whole class. I'm going to be building on the topic I discussed last week, which is how to reduce hospital operating costs within facilities management utilizing in-house staffing. So data shows that U.S. healthcare costs have gone from $2 trillion in 2006 to $3 trillion in 2014. 1/3 of these costs involved hospital operations, and 1/3 of the hospital operation costs involved facilities management costs. So hospital management is always looking to reduce operating costs to free up funds for future technologies and new equipment. I'm going to be discussing two ways to reduce these costs, one being analyzing contracts, the other being training in-house employees. So analyzing contracts is a great way to reduce costs because it gives the hospital the ability to adjust or even eliminate certain contracts to free up funds. When it comes to facilities management, the department is broke down into two different sections, one being engineering, which deals with lighting and plumbing, things of that nature, the other being clinical engineering, which deals with any equipment that comes into direct contact with patients. I work in clinical engineering as a technician, and my title is a biomedical equipment technician, or biomed. Within clinical engineering, there's two types of work performed. One being corrective maintenance, which is to fix any broken equipment. The other being preventative maintenance, which is scheduled annual maintenance to verify that equipment meets original equipment manufacturer specifications. So utilizing in-house staffing, the hospital is able to keep an active inventory as well as an accurate device status history of the equipment to keep track of the equipment. Utilizing this information, hospital is able to decide whether a contract is needed or whether or not it needs to be adjusted. An example of this would be if a hospital buys a new CT machine, data may show that the old CT is not being used as much or isn't being used at all. So then the hospital would be able to decide whether to adjust the current contract on the CT or remove it altogether. Another way of reducing cost is training in-house employees. And hospitals are able to do this by sending an employee to a specialized training for a specific piece of equipment. Now, hospital management may worry that the employee will take this new training and find employment elsewhere. You can rectify this by having the employee sign a no-compete clause, which simply states that the employee cannot seek employment elsewhere for X amount of years after receiving this specialized training. I'm going to use a specific example from my personal experience, and I'm going to be talking about steam sterilizers, which utilize steam to kill any microorganisms on surgical instruments such as scalpels, staples, scissors, things of that nature, to reuse them for future surgical cases after they've been used. I'm going to break it down. So here's a sterilizer. This specific sterilizer requires a quarterly oil change at $2,000 4 times a year, equaling $8,000. It also has a semi-annual preventative maintenance done twice a year at $5,000. This equals $13,000 a year to maintain the equipment. Now, the vendor offers a contract for this equipment that is $10,000. So taking the contract right there already saves you $3,000. So that doesn't include, the contract includes any service, which if you needed to service the equipment outside of the oil change or the preventative maintenance, it would cost $1,000 plus parts. So you add that to this $13,000 total, you get that all covered for $10,000. So you're potentially saving over $3,000 a year utilizing the contract. Now another option would be to send an in-house employee to training for the equipment, which would be $6,000. So if you did that, you would be saving $4,000 from the contract, which would be $7,000 from not having the equipment under contract at all. So these are a couple options that you can use to reduce operating costs by utilizing in-house training for your employees. So these have been two ways that hospitals are able to reduce operating costs within facilities management utilizing in-house employees. Thank you.